Your life sucks as a Cold War spy, so you think being a Cold War spy is all martinis, exotic locations, and seducing beautiful women while saving the world? Let me guess. You've watched too many Bond films and now you reconvinced that intelligence work is just expensive suits. Gadgets that work perfectly and bad guys who explain their entire plan before trying to kill you. Well, congratulations. You've just signed up for the most paranoid, thankless, and psychologically damaging job in human history. Welcome to the real world of espionage, where your biggest enemy is UNSMIRSH or the KGB. It's your own sanity slowly dissolving like sugar in radioactive rain. By the way, if you enjoy learning the raw truth about history, consider subscribing for more. The glamorous world of safe houses thinks spy work means staying in luxury hotels. Think again, comrade. Your safe house is a moldy apartment in East Berlin that smells like cabbage cigarettes. In the broken dreams of 3 previous tenants who may or may not have been murdered in the bathtub. The walls are so thin you can hear your neighbor's digestive problems in stereo. The radiator makes sounds like a dying walrus every time the temperature drops below freezing, which is basically October through April. The furniture looks like it was selected by someone who had only heard furniture described to them by a blind person with a grudge against comfort. That couch. It's not brown by choice. It's brown because it's absorbed decades of fear, sweat, spilled alcohol, and what you really hope is just coffee stains. The bed creaks like a medieval torture device, and the mattress has more lumps than a teenager's face. You're resharing this palace with cockroaches the size of small dogs and mice, who apparently learned to pick locks. Your kitchen is a hot plate that works when it feels like it, connected to electrical wiring that was installed by someone who clearly confused grounding with electrocution. The refrigerator hums with the enthusiasm of a dying bee, and keeping anything cold requires the same level of faith people once had in alchemy. You've got exactly 1 plate, 1 cup, and 1 fork. Because apparently, the intelligence community believes that having matching dinnerware is a security risk. This is your home base, your sanctuary, your fortress of solitude, and it's about as secure as a paper bag in a thunderstorm. Every creak could be an assassin, every knock could be your last, and every morning you wake up genuinely surprised that you're still breathing. It's like playing Russian roulette with architecture. It's the gourmet dining experience. Forget about those fancy restaurant scenes in the movies. Your culinary experience as a Cold War spy consists primarily of canned food that expired. When Eisenhower was president, and whatever you can steal from embassy receptions without looking suspicious, that fine dining you see in films. Try eating cold beans straight from the can at 3 a.m. while monitoring radio frequencies, wondering if that strange taste is botulism or just the natural flavor of existential dread. Your typical meal is whatever won't blow your cover and won't kill you. And honestly, if you're not always sure about that second part. In Eastern Europe, you're surviving on black bread that could double as body armor, suspicious sausages that might contain actual meat, and potatoes prepared in ways that make you question humanity's decision to stop being hunter-gatherers. The local cuisine tastes like it was designed by someone who heard about food but never actually tried any. Restaurant meetings are a special kind of hell. You're trying to maintain cover while eating schnitzel that tastes like it was tenderized with a sledgehammer. All while the person across from you may or may not be planning to poison you at the next course. Every bite is a gamble. Every sip is a potential death sentence. And you expected to make small talk about the weather while internally calculating the quickest route to the nearest hospital? The safe house cooking situation is even worse. You're working with ingredients that you can't identify, cooking methods that predate the Renaissance, and the constant fear that the smoke from your burned dinner might give away your position to enemy agents. You've become an expert at making meals that generate the minimum amount of smell, smoke, and evidence of human habitation. The social life of paranoia? Want to know what social isolation really means? Try being a spy where every person you meet could be an enemy agent, or double agent, or just someone who will accidentally get you killed through their own incompetence. Your social circle consists of people whose real names you don't know, whose motives you can't trust, and whose life expectancy is roughly equivalent to a mayfly's. Making friends is like playing chess with someone who might flip the board and stab you if they start losing. That charming woman at the bar? She might be a honeypot trap. That friendly businessman who bought you a drink? He could be setting you up for interrogation. That old man feeding pigeons in the park? He's probably your handler, Or he's watching you for someone else. Or he's just a regular old man who's about to become collateral damage in your completely insane life. Dating is particularly hilarious. Nothing says romance like having to lie about your name, your job, your nationality, and your entire life story to anyone you want to spend time with. You're constantly wondering if your date is genuinely interested in you, or if they're repumping you for information that will end up in Moscow by morning. Every kiss could be a betrayal. Every intimate moment could be a setup. And every I love you could be the prelude to a bullet in your head. Your family back home thinks you sell insurance or work in imports, exports, or some other cover story so boring that they stop asking questions. You're missing birthdays, weddings, funerals, and every meaningful moment in the lives of people you actually care about, all so you can sit in a dingy apartment and pretend to be someone you not while waiting for orders that may never come. The thrilling world of surveillance? Think surveillance work is exciting? Try sitting in a car for 14 hours straight, watching an empty building? While your bladder screams for mercy and your spine slowly transforms into a pretzel? Your high-tech surveillance equipment consists of binoculars that fog up when you breathe, a camera with a telephoto lens that weighs as much as a small anvil, and a radio that picks up everything except the frequency you actually need. You're cramped in a vehicle that wasn't designed for human occupancy, eating sandwiches that taste like cardboard mixed with regret, and trying to stay alert while watching paint dry in real time. The target you're supposed to be watching has the most boring routine in human history. They wake up, eat breakfast, go to work, come home, eat dinner, watch television, and go to bed. Meanwhile, you're documenting every second of this riveting existence like it's the most important intelligence operation since the Enigma machine. If you like content like this, don't forget to subscribe and join us for more unfiltered history. The worst part is when something actually happens. After hours of mind-numbing boredom, suddenly there's activity. And you have to transform from a half-dead zombie into a precision intelligence gathering machine in about 3 seconds. Your hands are shaking from too much coffee. Your vision is blurry from staring through binoculars. You're trying to operate complex equipment with the manual dexterity of an arthritic gorilla. Night surveillance is even better. You're sitting in complete darkness, trying to see through shadows, while every sound makes you jump like a startled cat. That rustle in the bushes could be the wind, could be an enemy agent, could be a raccoon about to give you rabies. You're running on caffeine, adrenaline, and the kind of paranoia that makes you suspicious of your own shadow. The sophisticated world of spy gadgets forget about the Q-branch fantasies. Your advanced spy equipment consists of items that were cutting-edge technology around the time people thought the Earth was flat. That radio hidden in a cigarette pack, it gets reception, about as well as a tin can connected to a string. The camera concealed in a pen. It takes pictures that look like they were shot through a kaleidoscope during an earthquake. Your sophisticated listening devices are about as subtle as a marching band in a library. The microphone you're supposed to plant in the embassy sounds like a dying whale when it's working properly. And when it's not working, it makes noises that could wake the dead. The battery life is measured in minutes, not hours. And you're constantly worried that the thing will short-circuit and electrocute whoever you're trying to bug. The encryption equipment is a masterpiece of engineering. If you happen to be living in 1943, it is a mechanical monster that weighs more than a small refrigerator, which makes noise like a cement mixer and requires a PhD in mechanical engineering to operate. You're trying to encode messages while this thing clanks and whirs like a broken washing machine. And every time you use it, you're basically sending up a flare that says, "Secret agent working here." Your weapon is equally impressive. You've got a pistol that hasn't been cleaned since the Truman administration, ammunition that may or may not actually fire, and a knife that's about as sharp as a butter spreader. The poison pills they gave you for emergencies. They're probably just aspirin with a scary label. Because the intelligence community has the same procurement standards as a discount hardware store. The art of deep cover, living under deep cover, means becoming someone you hate while slowly forgetting who you actually are. Your cover identity is usually something mind-numbingly boring, a traveling salesman, a minor bureaucrat, or some other profession that makes people's eyes glaze over when you mention it. You've memorized an entire fake life story that's somehow more depressing than your real one. You're spending years pretending to be Herbert Kleinman, insurance adjuster from Cleveland, while your real personality slowly dissolves like sugar in acid rain. You know more about Herbert's fictional childhood than you do about your own memories. You dream about his imaginary wife, worry about his made-up children, and have genuine emotional reactions to events that never happened to a person who doesn't exist. The psychological strain of constantly lying about everything is like trying to juggle chainsaws while riding a unicycle on a tightrope. You're lying about your name, your background, your opinions, your preferences, your fears, your dreams, and your entire existence. After a while, you start to forget which lies are which, and you begin to wonder if Herbert might actually be more real than you are. Maintaining cover means you can't react normally to anything. Someone insults your country. You have to agree with them. Someone threatens your real family. You have to pretend you don't care. Someone offers you food that could kill you. You have to eat it with a smile and ask for seconds. You're like a method actor in a play that never ends, and the reviews are all written by people who want to kill you. The bureaucratic nightmare the intelligence community has turned paranoia into an art form, paperwork into a weapon of mass destruction. Every operation requires forms that need to be filled out in triplicate, approved by committees that may or may not exist, and filed in systems that were designed by people who clearly had a grudge against human efficiency. You're trying to prevent World War III. But first you need to fill out Form 847, be requesting permission to request permission to file a request for operational authority. The bureaucracy moves at the speed of continental drift. Every decision has to be approved by someone who's been dead for 6 months. But nobody bothered to update the organizational chart. Your handlers are a special breed of human. They read the kind of people who would ask for a receipt if you bought them a cup of coffee with their own money. They want detailed reports on everything you do, think, eat, or dream about. But they communicate with you through codes that would confuse a professional cryptographer. Their instructions are about as clear as mud mixed with fog, and they expect you to interpret their vague suggestions as precise operational directives. The chain of command is a beautiful thing. It's like a game of telephone played by people who all speak different languages and hate each other. Your orders filter down through so many levels of bureaucracy that by the time they reach you, they bear about as much resemblance to the original plan as a hamburger bears to a cow. The psychological toll living in constant fear of discovery is like having a permanent case of stage fright, except the audience wants to torture you to death instead of just boo you off the stage. You're developing paranoid tendencies that would make a conspiracy theorist look well-adjusted. Every person you meet is potentially dangerous. Every conversation could be a trap, and every moment of peace is probably just the calm before someone tries to kill you. Sleep becomes a luxury you can't afford. You're lying awake at 3 a.m., listening to every sound, analyzing every shadow, and wondering if that creaking floorboard is just the building settling, or if it's an assassin who's really bad at sneaking. When you do manage to fall asleep, you dream about being chased, interrogated, or murdered in increasingly creative ways. Your stress level is permanently stuck at volcanic eruption, and you re-dealing with it by consuming enough alcohol to pickle a small whale and smoking cigarettes like they re-going out of style. Your diet consists of whatever you can eat quickly while watching for threats, and your exercise routine consists of running away from people who want to kill you. The isolation is the worst part. Can't talk to anyone about your real life, your real problems, or your real fears. You're carrying secrets that could start wars, and you're doing it alone in a foreign country, surrounded by people who would celebrate your death. It's like being the only person who knows the world is ending, but you can't tell anyone because they'd think you're crazy. The reality of intelligence work. Here's the truth about intelligence work. 90% of it is reading boring documents, analyzing mundane information, and trying to find patterns in data that would put an accountant to sleep. You're spending weeks decoding messages that turn out to be grocery lists, investigating leads that go nowhere, and following people whose most exciting activity is buying stamps at the post office. The intelligence you're gathering is usually about as useful as a chocolate teapot. You're risking your life to find out that the Soviet Union has 47 tanks instead of 46, or that the East German Minister of Agriculture prefers coffee to tea. Meanwhile, the really important information is being discovered by someone who's reading newspapers and making educated guesses. Your crucial missions often involve activities that would make a DMV employee feel overstimulated. You're photographing documents that are publicly available, like following people who aren't hiding anything, and listening to conversations about the weather, sports, and what someone had for lunch. The fate of the free world apparently depends on knowing whether Comrade Petrov likes his potatoes boiled or fried. Now, the technology gap between what you see in movies and what you actually working with is roughly equivalent to the difference between a spaceship and a wooden wagon. Your advanced equipment breaks down more often than a 1970s British car, and the repair manual is written in a language that does unexist by someone who clearly never saw the actual device. The glamorous life of a professional liar. You've become so good at lying that you're starting to lie to yourself, which is either the mark of a master spy or the first sign of a complete psychological breakdown. Your entire existence is built on deception, and you're living in a world where the truth is more dangerous than any weapon. Every relationship is transactional. Every friendship is strategic. And every emotion is potentially useful information for someone who wants to manipulate you. You're playing a game where the rules change constantly. The players are all cheating. And the prize for winning is the privilege of staying alive long enough to play another round. Your moral compass has been spinning like a broken roulette wheel for so long that you've forgotten what right and wrong actually mean. You're making decisions that would horrify your former self, and you're redoing it while maintaining the kind of cheerful demeanor that makes people think you sell life insurance for a living. The worst part is that you're actually getting good at it. You've developed skills that would make a con artist weep with envy, and you're reusing them to survive in a world where everyone is simultaneously your enemy and your ally, depending on what day of the week it is and which way the political winds are blowing. The international incident waiting to happen. Every day you wake up with the knowledge that you one mistake away from starting World War III or becoming the subject of a very embarrassing international incident. Your existence is a diplomatic crisis waiting to happen. And you're walking around with the kind of information that could topple governments, or at least seriously annoy some very important people. You're reoperating in countries where your presence is about as welcome as a vegetarian at a barbecue competition. If you're caught, your own government will deny your existence faster than a politician denies campaign contributions. You become a rogue agent or a private citizen. Or some other euphemism for person we've never heard of who probably does exist. The international implications of your work are staggering. You're stealing secrets that could affect the balance of power, gathering intelligence that could influence elections, and making decisions that could impact the lives of millions of people. Meanwhile, you're doing it all while pretending to be a guy who sells typewriter ribbons for a living. Your backup plans have backup plans, and your escape routes are mapped out with the precision of a military operation. You know the location of every embassy, every safe house, and every friendly contact in a 50-mile radius. You're living like a fugitive in a crime you haven't committed yet, but probably will by the time the week is over. The romantic comedy of espionage, the intelligence community's idea of romance, is about as sophisticated as a caveman's approach to dating. Your love life consists of strategic liaisons with people who may or may not be trying to kill you, and every intimate moment is potentially being recorded by someone who will use it to blackmail you later. That beautiful woman who's showing interest in you, she's probably working for the other side, or she's working for your side and doesn't know you're working for your side. Or she's a double agent who's working for both sides, or she's just a regular person who's about to become collateral damage in your completely insane life. Dating in the intelligence world is like playing Russian roulette with emotions. Every kiss could be a betrayal. Every I love you could be part of an elaborate setup. And every romantic evening could end with someone trying to drug your drink or steal your wallet or shoot you in the face. Your idea of pillow talk involves discussing dead drops, extraction procedures, and whether that suspicious-looking waiter might be SVR. You're having conversations that would make a normal person call the police. And you're redoing it while maintaining the kind of romantic atmosphere that makes people think you just really into role-playing. The technical difficulties of saving the world, your equipment fails more often than a student driver's parallel parking attempts. That radio that's supposed to connect you to headquarters? It picks up everything except the frequency you need, and most of the time it's just broadcasting some farmer-esque grocery list, or a taxi dispatcher having a nervous breakdown. The technology you're working with was cutting edge when your grandfather was young, and it has been maintained by people who apparently learned electronics from a correspondence course that came in a cereal box. Your sophisticated surveillance equipment makes noises like a dying elephant, and has roughly the same reliability as a chocolate teapot. Your communication devices are a constant source of frustration. You're retrying to send urgent intelligence through systems that have the bandwidth of a garden hose and the reliability of a politician's campaign promises. Every message you send might be intercepted, decoded, or just lost in the electronic equivalent of a black hole. The maintenance requirements for your equipment are more complex than performing brain surgery while riding a unicycle. You're constantly cleaning, calibrating, and praying to whatever deity watches over obsolete technology. Half your mission time is spent trying to fix things that were broken when you got them, and the other half is spent breaking things that were working perfectly until you touched them. The culinary adventures of international espionage. Your dining experiences as a spy are like a tour of the world's most questionable restaurants. You're eating food that would make a billy goat think twice, and you're redoing it with a smile while trying to extract state secrets from someone who may or may not be planning to poison you with the next course. Every meal is a potential assassination attempt. Every drink could be drugged, and every snack might contain enough sodium pentothal to make you confess to crimes you didn't commit and some that you did. You're developing the kind of food paranoia that makes people think you have serious trust issues, which you do, because people are constantly trying to kill you. The local cuisine in your operational area tastes like it was designed by someone who had only heard about food described by a blind person who had never eaten anything. You're consuming dishes that violate several laws of physics and probably a few international treaties. Your digestive system is staging its own rebellion, and you're fighting a two-front war against both enemy agents and your own intestinal tract. Restaurant meetings are particularly entertaining. You're trying to maintain cover while eating something that might be meat, might be vegetables, or might be a science experiment that escaped from a laboratory. You're remaking small talk about the weather while internally calculating the probability that your dinner is going to kill you before the enemy agents get a chance to try. And hey, subscribe if you want to keep learning about the unglamorous side of history. The existential crisis of professional deception. After years of living as someone else, you start to wonder if you ever really existed in the first place. Your cover identity has become more real than your actual personality. You're having conversations with yourself that would make a psychiatrist rich. You know more about your fake life than your real one, and you're starting to prefer the fictional version. The philosophical implications of your work are staggering. You're lying for a living, stealing for your country, betraying people who trust you, all in the name of protecting freedom and democracy. It's like being a reverse superhero. You're resaving the world by doing terrible things to people who probably do and deserve it. Your moral compass has been spinning like a broken record player for so long that you've forgotten what right and wrong actually mean. You're making decisions that would horrify your former self, and you're redoing it while maintaining the kind of cheerful demeanor that makes people think you're just really enthusiastic about your job selling vacuum cleaners. The worst part is that you're actually starting to enjoy it. You've developed a taste for danger that would make an adrenaline junkie look like a cautious driver. You're living on the edge of disaster, and you're finding that the view from the precipice is actually quite nice, even if the fall would probably kill you. The retirement plan of a professional paranoid. Your retirement plan consists of hopefully living long enough to need one, and then spending whatever years you have left looking over your shoulder and jumping at shadows. You're accumulating enemies faster than a debt collector. You're doing it in countries where holding grudges is considered a traditional art form. The pension system for intelligence operatives is about as reliable as a chocolate teapot in a sauna. You're paying into a system that may or may not exist, administered by people who might deny you ever worked for them, and designed by bureaucrats who apparently think that spies should be financially independent through wise investments and careful budgeting. Your post-career prospects are limited by the fact that your skill set consists primarily of activities that are illegal in most civilized countries. You're overqualified for normal jobs and underqualified for legal ones, and your resume has more gaps than a hockey player's smile. The psychological effects of your work are going to follow you like a loyal dog for the rest of your life. You're going to be suspicious of everyone, paranoid about everything, and convinced that the mailman is probably working for a foreign intelligence service. Your retirement is going to be less golden years and more golden years of wondering if that ice cream truck is actually a surveillance vehicle. The final irony here is the beautiful irony of the whole situation. Despite everything I've just described, the paranoia, the isolation, the constant danger, the terrible food, the psychological torture, the bureaucratic nightmares, the equipment failures, the moral ambiguity, and the fact that your job description basically amounts to professional liar and international criminal, you're probably going to miss it when it's over. You'll spend your retirement years boring people at cocktail parties with stories they queue and verify about adventures you wouldn't believe all, while secretly wishing you could go back to that moldy apartment in East Berlin, where every day was a gamble with death, and every night was a dance with insanity. You'll miss the adrenaline, the purpose, the feeling that you were part of something bigger than yourself, even if that something was completely insane. You will look back on your career with the kind of nostalgic fondness that people usually reserve for college experiences or first loves, conveniently forgetting that you spent most of your time terrified, lonely, and convinced that everyone you met was trying to kill you. You'll remember the excitement and forget the terror, the adventure and forget the paranoia, the importance and forget the absurdity. That's the ultimate joke of intelligence work. It's simultaneously the worst job in the world and the one job that makes everything else seem boring by comparison. You will spend the rest of your life trying to recapture the thrill of never knowing if you're going to survive the next 5 minutes. And you'll probably die peacefully in your sleep, which will somehow seem like the most disappointing ending possible. May your covers always hold, your equipment occasionally work, and your paranoia never be justified by actual assassination attempts. May your handlers be competent, your missions be successful, and your retirement be both boring and lengthy. And may you never have to explain to your grandchildren why you've spent the best years of your life pretending to be someone else while people tried to kill you for reasons that made perfect sense at the time, but seem completely insane in retrospect. Most importantly, may you always remember that even though your life sucks as a Cold War spy, at least you're not working in customer service.